What's up, Unbroken Nation? Hello, my friends. I'm Michael Unbroken, host of the Think Unbroken podcast and founder of ThinkUnbroken.com. And I'm honored to be your trauma coach and mentor because I believe that everyone is capable of getting unstuck, cultivating self-love, and becoming the hero of their own story. I believe that when implemented correctly, the practical tools and education you will receive from this show will help you lead an unbroken and extraordinary life. I believe that no matter what we come from, that we all have the ability to choose ourselves first, to create and manifest a powerful and grace-filled future, and love the reflection in the mirror. I believe that every day is a day to grow, learn, heal, and change. That's why I started my company, ThinkUnbroken.com, which is an online training and healing and personal growth platform where you get everything that I know about how to get motivated, be accountable, get out of the vortex, and become the hero of your own story through community, connection, and commitment. For more information, visit ThinkUnbroken.com. Please listen closely as you may learn just one thing that will help you be unbroken. And please share this episode with at least 3 of your friends because we all need community and connection in our healing journey. And be sure to DM me and tag me on Instagram at Michael Unbroken so that I can say hi. I just want to thank you again for being a part of this, for listening and being a member of the Unbroken Nation. Now, let's get into today's show and make the world unbroken. Hey, what's up, Unbroken Nation? Hope that you're doing well wherever you are in the world. I really hope that you enjoyed Monday's episode with Melanie Weller. Such an incredible conversation about the body and the way that it stores trauma and the way that you can release it. If you have not listened to that episode, I highly recommend that you do because there was just such a tremendous amount of value in there. And it got me thinking as we were having the conversation about my own journey in healing the trauma in my body. And so I haven't really talked about this. I haven't dove deep into it, but I want to go into this today and talk about healing my own body in this journey because the truth about it is it's such a big part of healing. If you've ever read Vander Kolk's book, The Body Keeps the Score, then you know that your trauma can be stored in your body. When I read his book for the first time, I was blown away. And then when I got into some of the courses that he teaches and working with him, I learned so much more. And it was mind-boggling to me. But it made sense. And the reason that it made sense is because I think about this often. Why would your body not store those traumas? Think about this. Your mind, your memory stores that pain. Your psyche stores those things that happen to you. That's how we get triggers. That's how we get flashbacks. But so does your body. Have you ever had this moment where like somebody might touch you on the arm and it freaks you out? And you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Right? That's your body's autonomic response to threats. And so it makes perfect sense to me that our bodies would want to keep, store, and hold on to those traumatic experiences because it's a defensive mechanism. It's so much about if your body's storing it, then you can always be prepared. And then you're effectively always in fight or flight. You're over in the sympathetic nervous system. Now, the other part of it, too, is that your body needs to release these things. How does your body release trauma? How does your body release the pain and suffering, the things that you've been through? And I think so much of it is about getting to this position and into these places in your life in which you can further connect your brain and your body. If I rewind and I go back in time and I think about the start of my healing journey, a lot of it was mental. And the deeper that I got into the mental healing, the deeper that I got into the emotional healing, the more that I recognized I also needed to get into the physical healing. And I've talked about it before. And at one point in my life, I was 350 pounds, smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day, drinking myself to sleep. My body was intoxicated. I was full of poison. I was full of pain. I was full of suffering. And today, I still have some things that I have to do work on, but I would say this. If I looked at my physical body 10 years ago versus today, it's literally day and night. And the reason why is because I've had to do a lot of work to make it better, to heal it, to make my body function as a normal body should. And I'll be honest with you, it comes to this concept to talk about a lot: time, effort, energy, and money. And I had to put all those things into healing myself. And let's talk about it from a few different aspects. From a time perspective, I think you have to be tremendously patient when you're starting to do the work on your body. It's been trapped in there, it's tight, your vagus nerve's probably all screwed up, you got hip pain, shoulders hurt, your neck hurts, all of those things. And when it starts with that, I think about the fact that on a long enough timeline, you can get to a place of what I would call sustainability. I don't know, and I'm not a doctor, so please keep that in mind. I don't know that my body will ever get back to 100% because I've been experiencing pain and trauma since I was 4 years old. That's a lot, right? Decades worth of pain and suffering. And so when I go into this, I'm always thinking about how can I get it to be just a little bit better? It's the same thing as mindset. Can I get my body 1% better? And I'm not talking about six pack abs, and I'm not talking about running marathons. I'm not talking about that David Goggins lifestyle. Shout out, David. But I am talking about, can I freely move my body throughout the course of the day without tremendous pain? A couple of things I've never really dove into is that I actually have a couple of autoimmune diseases. One is called POTS, posterior tachycardia. And basically, this is something that happens to a lot of tall people. And it's where your heart does not pump blood fast enough throughout your extremities. And so you can be prompted, or you could faint often. And I was having these fainting spells for a while. And then I grew up with asthma. I've broken all the fingers on both of my hands and my thumbs. I've had a couple ankle surgeries and torn tendons and messed up knee, which is why I couldn't get into the military. And the list goes on and on. My body's been through a lot of suffering. And then as an adult, it was looking at these things and trying to no longer just put a salve on them, right? To put a Band-Aid on them, but to instead try to not only become more functional, but to be able to freely exist within this body day to day. That was kind of the goal. Can I get to the place in my life where I don't have constant pain? And this is big. I don't think, and I'll be honest, I haven't even talked about this enough. There's been periods of time in my life where I've been in tremendous physical pain just because of holding on and storing that trauma so tightly. And in those releases, I would say this: I'm probably call it 94%. 94% of where I believe that I could be. So I'm always trying to get better at being closer to that. Not drinking so much, not staying up all night and having Red Bulls, and waking up and meditating, stretching, the whole nine, right? That's a huge part of this journey. And so initially, however, it started with, can I just move? And that movement started with yoga. And I will tell you this: yoga as a spiritual practice is really beautiful, but as a healing practice, I think it's even better. And the reason why I say this is because throughout the course of doing yoga in my life, my brain and body connection have become closer and closer. Like, if I don't do yoga for multiple weeks at a time, I feel the impact in not only the way that I'm thinking, but also in the way that my body is moving. Because if you think about this, how often are we really pausing? How often are we really stopping? And so in the beginning of this journey, I looked at hot yoga because I grew up wrestling. And so we were always in these scorching hot rooms, 105 degrees with 70% humidity. You'd just be dripping sweat all the time. And it was a little dangerous back then. I know that a lot of laws have been put in place to protect kids who are wrestling and playing high intensity sports, even in football, which I've played also. And so that's awesome. And part of me was like, oh, if I can get back to that kind of lifestyle where I'm in these hot rooms sweating out the toxins every day, maybe that'll be beneficial. And one of the most incredible things that happened throughout my experience in the beginning of doing yoga was I started to feel inside of myself. I don't have a better way to phrase this. I think, like, if you go and you practice yoga or meditation, you know a little bit about what I'm talking about. And I would feel like I was connected. I feel like I understood myself at a deeper level than I did before I got into the studio versus after. And the deeper that I got into the yoga practice, the more I would feel these releases. And sometimes, honestly, I'd finish a class, whether it was 60 minutes or 90 minutes, and I'd be laying on the ground, drenched in sweat and just overwhelmed with emotion. Because those were honestly some of the first periods of time in which I was just focused entirely on myself. And in that became a lot of healing because I was able to notice things about my body, the pain in the ankle or a torn hamstring or a messed up MCL or messed up shoulder, or whatever it was. And I would care for it. Here's what's really fascinating about this. As a child, going through and having a lot of these traumatic experiences, when it came to the medical care side of it, that never happened. No one ever took me, rarely, if ever, took me to the doctor. I mean, at one point, I'd rolled my ankle so bad I had to have 2 surgeries, and I went 3 days, 4 days walking on it before I finally convinced my mother, who a teacher at school had to call to take me to the hospital. Turns out I needed some surgeries. And I was in this cast for weeks, and then I heard it again, and it's a whole long drama, right? But being in yoga allowed me to sit and think and listen to my body go, oh, you know what? The shoulder is not feeling great today, so I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to do that. The other part of this release happened in that because I was so cognizant of my body and relaxed, I know that yoga can be a strenuous activity, especially depending on what kind of class you're in. But if I would go to these yin classes or these sound bowl healing classes, and in them go through these flows and get to the mat at the end and just be overwhelmed. And one of my great friend, who I highly recommend you check out, Cole Chance, has a program called Cole Chance Yoga, and she was a huge factor in this journey for me 6, 7 years ago because I started finding her on YouTube and I just felt really connected. Though, let me tell you something about the universe. It's so small. I moved to Bali a few years ago. I've mentioned this to you guys, and I'm in a Toastmasters speaking meeting, and we're just kind of like chatting with folks. And I bumped into this person. I was like, "Oh, you look really familiar. Who are you?" And it turns out it was her. Talk about a small world, and we've connected and become friends for years now since that moment. And so yoga was this beautiful jump off point. And I think it's a great place if you're just starting this journey to go to a yoga class or pull it up, go check out Cole Chance's YouTube channel or subscribe to a yoga class or something, right? Just start there. And the reason why I say start there is because I think the greatest benefit in healing your body is starting with connecting your mind. Now, I did yoga, I do yoga, it's a part of my life, but there were other factors that really needed to be discussed, and I didn't understand initially how to tap into them because I also, in this journey, I got this thing called SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. That came from antibiotics. When I was a kid, I had asthma really bad. I had migraines. I had the worst migraines. And I used to have to like take this nasal spray, put it up my nose. It tasted like poison. It was horrendous. And I'd have to lay on the ground with a cold rag on my eyes, dead silent, no light. My mother also had migraines, and so did my grandmother, and so did what I know, and I can never confirm that my father did as well. And so perhaps that's in our DNA. Perhaps that's a part of, the growth journey, is that when you start to grow up, you have these things that in your body want to come out. And I can pinpoint now, especially with Vander Kolk's work, looking at and understanding, oh, of course I had migraines. Look at all the stress I was under. And so one of the big parts that I jumped into here was going to the doctor. And this sounds crazy because a lot of us have medical trauma. I know I do. Like going to the doctor when I got my finger cut off from my mother, having all of these surgeries in and out, constantly having asthma, ending up in the emergency room, having these migraines. By the time I was a teenager, I would just deal with being sick. I would just deal with not going to the doctor. And I got used to not having that care because my mom would stop taking me. A lot of times I'd have to call my grandmother, who'd come from the other side of town, pick me up to take me to the doctor. And in that, one of the things that happened is that it kind of like created this precursor to not taking care of myself as an adult. So if I were sick, I wouldn't go to the doctor. If I need something wrong with my tooth, I wouldn't go to the dentist. If there was something wrong with my stomach, I wouldn't do whatever it took to get healthy. And that, oh my God, it caused so much problem. If in this whole journey, I could go back and do one thing, I would have figured out what was wrong with my body before, maybe during. I don't want to say before because I don't know. I can't go back in time, but I would have spent more effort, time, energy, and money in healing my body. And the reason that I would have done that is because you cannot function in pain. I can't function in pain. And, thank God for CBD. You guys know I'm a huge proponent of it. I've been thinking about making one specifically for myself. And so I'm working on that. That's another conversation for another day. But CBD being such this important catalyst and just not being in pain all day long. But I had to go to the doctor and I had to get my mind around what it meant to eat better and take care of my physical well-being and take care of a hurt shoulder or hurt knee or whatever it was. And also, this is the important part, following my intuition around going to doctors, because the truth is a lot of doctors, I would call the majority that I've ever seen in my life, just want to throw a prescription at it. And that to me never felt like it worked. So I had to get into naturopathic medicine and going and getting into herbs and really deep into things like acupuncture, even though I hate needles. Like I would sit there, I'm actually getting like a little clammy handed right now just thinking about it. Even just acupuncture, those needles would freak me out, but I would force myself to go do it because of the medicinal benefits of it. And the deeper I got into that, the more I started researching, like, how do you really start to get the stress out of the body? Because of course there's journaling and meditation and therapy and talk therapy, and those things really, really help. But there was still more. And so I got into this thing called myofascial release. And the fascia is basically what intertwines and interconnects the musculature of your body, kind of like, envision a spider web. And that fascia, and again, I'm not a doctor, go research this on your own, but I'm just talking about it. That fascia for me was so tight, especially around my psoas. If you go and do research, and the psoas is what connects the leg to the torso. Basically, it runs up from mid-thigh up to the hip, up into the torso. And as you guys may know this, I used to be a certified personal trainer and nutritionist. I did that so I could understand the body. I never coached anybody in that realm, but I did that because I wanted to learn and understand it. Hey, what's up, Unbroken Nation? Michael here. I just wanted to take a moment and invite you to the Think Unbroken community coaching sessions. We start these sessions at the beginning of every month, and we take a deep dive into the baseline and frameworks of what it means to get out of the vortex and become the hero of your own story through community, connection, commitment, and education. You can learn more about this at healtraumacoach.com, where you can fill out an application and sign up for a trauma healing call with me or my team to see if the Think Unbroken community coaching sessions is right for you. That's at healtraumacoach.com. We start at the beginning of every month. I cannot wait to see you there. And I'll be honest with you, if I'm not the right fit for you, we will help you find the person that can help you on your journey. And so my psoas would be so tight, and I would go to this myofascial release, and they would move and manipulate my fascia around the muscles. And it was, when I say excruciating, like, I honestly believe that it's the closest thing to legal torture that you can do. And it was so painful, but so healing, because by the time I would leave these sessions, I would feel so much better. And then I got into deep tissue massage, recognizing my muscles would be stuck. I'd be super inflamed. And part of that stuckness, now I understand, was around my diet and nutrition, right? Because I still wasn't like deeply understanding the food that I was putting into my body. And when you think about this, I know it sounds crazy, but you're eating what the food you are eating ate. And so I had to get really serious about what I was eating, whether it was dark leafy greens or broccoli or kale or grass-fed meats, staying away from poor quality foods, which I would come to discover is incredibly expensive, which that again is another conversation for another day. Really pisses me off. But you have to think about the food that you're putting in your body and the way that it creates inflammation. And so I was getting into things like rolfing, deep tissue massage, acupuncture, and also I would go and do things like, oh my gosh, I just totally drew a blank. Oh my God, what is that called? Like even Reiki. And so I would go and do this, just even these mental and emotional therapies and movements. And then I got into sound bowl healing. And I'll say this, I think that there's always room to experiment and try things. I've tried everything. There's an episode, I don't know, early on, 20, 30 episodes in, where I talk about my experience with plant medicines and psilocybin and how impactful that has been in the journey, and LSD and mushrooms. Like, I really am a proponent of these things because in moderation and when proctored correctly with a doctor, and I'm not one, those are very powerful tools. And so the deeper I got into the body work and strengthening it, let's talk about this for a second. You hear this all the time, like sitting is the new smoking. Well, I was sitting and I was smoking. So boom, double whammy. I had to start moving my body frequently, and I had to start lifting weights, lifting heavy weights, running, shedding the excess pounds, getting into the best physical shape possible. And the more I took care of my body, the more I saw a correlation between my mind working better. And look, I come from an overweight family. Obesity runs in my family. My mother had diabetes. My grandmother had diabetes. Other people in my family probably have it too. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to piss people off. I don't care. I believe that if you want to heal your body, you have got to lose weight. If you are overweight, you've got to lose weight. And I am body positive. This is not shaming. I'm just talking about from my perspective. When I was 350 pounds versus today, I'm at like 220, 221, which is still a little higher than I'd like to be. I was miserable. I was so sick. I was so much pain. I was so inflamed. I was so just everything hurt all the damn time. And because of that, when you go and look at some of the research initially around the ACE survey, the Advanced Childhood Experiences Survey and Study, they were trying to find a cause to obesity. They were just, Dr. Filletti's whole thing started with he was helping people in an obesity clinic. And I've done episodes on this, so I won't dive deep today. But there's a correlation between abuse and obesity. There's no question about it. And so you must heal your body in order to heal your mind. I'm telling you right now, you will never feel better than you feel when you move your body. You need the endorphins. You need the dopamine. You need it all, right? And just simply stepping into physical movement can play such a huge role in this healing journey. And I think if you are not, you're making a huge misstep. You can only do so much with the mind without the body, and you can only do so much with the body without the mind. They really need to be in synchronicity. They really need to be together on this journey. And so as I step deeper into it, and I had to be patient. This is the other part of it. And in that patience, and I talk about patience all the time, I have a hypothesis, and I don't know that there's a way to prove it, but I believe that it takes you as long to get healthy as it did to get unhealthy. But to get healthy, you have to do all the things right. And I'm not saying you have to be a damn bodybuilder or take supplements or any of those things, but I do think that you need to take into consideration everything that you're doing with your body. When we come from trauma, we're dissociated. Right? And dissociated, our brain and our body aren't connected. This is why sometimes you get hurt, you won't notice for a while, or you'll be on autopilot and you'll do a thing and you'll be like, why did I just do that? Because you're disconnected. That's where I think yoga and meditation and journaling plays a huge role. But then there's the part of it where you're trying to get your body to move in ways that you never have. You're going to get hurt. I got hurt. I hope you don't get hurt, but I got hurt a lot because I try to do these things I'd never done before without doing all the lead up and all the work. And so being a stubborn person who honestly learns the hard way, which still holds true, even though I have a growth mindset, I'm trying to learn all the time. When it comes to like sports and wanting to be fit and proficient in something, sometimes I'll overdo it. And so all this is to say, listen to your body more. Really tap in and dive into what it needs and honor that. We talk about grace a lot here, right? And I think if you can step into it with a little bit more grace, give yourself some patience, and then show up for yourself, and you will heal your body in time. One of the things I want to talk about is money when it comes to this, because I think it's really important. I had to sacrifice a lot to heal my body, especially in money. And we're talking tens of thousands of dollars, like every penny I had. There was a 5-6 year stretch where I just stayed broke. And I do still to an extent because I have coaches and I pay for programs and I'm always trying to learn. I have a fitness coach, right? I even have a voice coach because that's a part of my body too. And, I'm doing podcasts, I'm doing interviews all the time. I need to take care of it. And so when you're in this and you're trying to go through and figure out where to start, I mean, I'm always thinking about how do you start at the easiest first step? And that's maybe it's buying an online course for $7 or, buying that other book or hiring somebody because there are coaches and personal trainers who are extremely reasonable. I mean, my first personal trainer, I think I paid that dude like $30 a session, $40 a session. And I saw a lot of benefit in that. And this was back in a little town called Canby, Indiana, with a population of, I don't know, 2,000 people or something. It was weird. This is a long story. But you can find that person. You can find the person to help you. You can find the person or people to be on your team to help you go to the next level. And as I think about the journey and being where I am today, again, I don't know that I'll ever be 100% healthy. I think you kind of hit that 30, 35, 40-year-old mark, and it's just like you're maintaining, you're trying to build muscle, you're trying to grow physical fitness and health. And so I'm always thinking about just flexibility, moving, stretching, lifting, building musculature, and trying to take care of myself. There's a lot of aspects to it. And I think in a short episode like this, I can't go as in depth as I'd like to, but I will say this. If you go back and listen to Melanie's conversation that she and I had in the last episode of the podcast, and you listen to this, the biggest takeaway that I want you to have from these two conversations is that you can have a healthy, functioning body, but you need support and you have to take care of it. And that may mean going to physical therapy or hiring a coach or reading the book. You're going to have to invest time, effort, energy, or money into these things so that you can create and cultivate change in your life. And I get it. It's not easy. And a lot of times we don't know where to start. And there's a lot of misconceptions about what it means to get into physical shape. I don't think you have to have a six-pack. Can you? Sure. If you want to, you got to put in a lot of work. It's especially around diet. But what I'm thinking about, can you move freely within this body? Can you release the trauma through getting your brain and your body connected? And again, that's going to involve therapy and yoga, maybe Reiki for you, right? There's so many different things. Maybe it's going to involve journaling and meditation. It's going to be really about diet. If I could say, I'm going to give you another takeaway actually, and I'm going to wrap this up for the day. I want you to think about your diet. I want you to think about what you're putting in your body. And if you don't eat meat, if you do eat meat, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter to me. That's not my point. My point is thinking about what you're putting into it and identifying what is causing you inflammation. Because not only does inflammation cause pain in the body, but it causes things like brain fog. And if I go back to when I was like on this crazy sugar diet, the brain fog was unbelievable. Like I would do things of like, what is going on? The panic attacks, unbelievable. The stress, the anxiety, unbelievable. The depression, oh my God, don't even get me started. But I looked at that and I started cleaning up my diet. I started rebuilding my gut flora, especially after having SIBO and taking things like vitamins and probiotics. And somebody I know will message me and ask, I'm going to preface this again. I am not a doctor. Do not take medical advice from me. I do not want to get sued. Plus, if you sue me, you're not going to get anything anyway. And so vitamins, let me tell you what I do. I do amino acids, right? I do collagen. Huge part of my day is collagen. And there's grass-fed collagen. I only do grass-fed everything because it's so important. I do vitamin D, fish oil. Also, this is going to sound weird to you if you don't do this, but I'm telling you, it's amazing. I'll do a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, just straight up in some water. I know it sounds ridiculous, but when you understand that the brain functions on fat and not carbs or sugar, and you need fats in order to really create cognizant thoughts, olive oil is phenomenal. Avocado oil, phenomenal. I stay away from gross oils. I don't mess with grapeseed. I don't mess with, canola oil, Crisco. If you have, let me tell you this. So, oh my God, my grandmother cooked everything in Crisco, everything. If you have Crisco in your house, you need to throw it the fuck away right now because you're poisoning yourself. And so, anyway, back to the vitamins. So, vitamin D, aminos. I take Ancestral. I'm not sponsored by any of these guys, so please know that nobody sponsors Think Unbroken, but Think Unbroken and you guys, the amazing Unbroken Nation. I take Ancestral. It is a breakdown of organs, animal organs in a dried powder form. I hate liver. I have tried to eat it. I've tried to grind it up into other foods. I've tried it every way you can. The science shows that liver is one of the best organ meats that you can eat. I just cannot palate it. I've tried, and I get it. Fixed mindset. I know, pot calling the kettle black over here. I've tried it every way. I even thought about putting it into like a smoothie one time. And so it's not, the bioavailability from my understanding still holds true in encapsulated freeze dried form. So I get animal organs that way, which have been very beneficial. Again, you go find out what works for you. Then I take a daily multivitamin. And so really it's just maintenance things. I try to be ahead of the curve. If I'm super inflamed, I'll do turmeric and curcumin, which is very rare. That'll happen. I am gluten-free. So because of that, I have to be cautious. But if I do happen to have some gluten and I get inflamed, I'll go take some turmeric and curcumin and quercetin or quercetin, however you say it. And those are amazing, amazing, amazing for inflammation. And if you have allergies. And so that's kind of the rundown, because if I take these vitamins along with the diet, they are supplements. Keep this in mind. They are supplemental. They are to help you if you can't get all of your nutrition. And, truth be told, I'm always trying to get better. I'm always trying to be better about my nutrition, my vitamin intake, things like that, especially water. Take a lot of electrolytes, a lot of Himalayan salt water. I came along the Himalayan salt water. So every morning I'll put a couple of dabs of salt in my water, which is salty and is a little bit gross, but it definitely helps with electrolyte balance. So all this is to say there's so many different things that you can do stepping into and healing your body. I'm gonna give you a couple of recommendations of some books that I really enjoy around this. One is called The Plant Paradox, Dr. Gundry. That was an incredible book. There's incredible books on paleo. There's an awesome nutrition book by Dave Asprey that I really love. I'm trying to get that guy on the show. So if anybody knows or has a connection, please let me know. But there's so much. I think healing your body, just like healing your mind, starts with education, starts with learning, and trying different things, because you may find some things just don't work for you while other things do. And I will say this, I'm certainly not the end all be all in this, just sharing some insights to my life, to my daily. So the other part of this is my daily kind of regimen. Water is huge. I have a cup of coffee in the morning. Diet's huge. I'm always thinking about what I'm eating. I eat the same thing kind of every day. Lots of eggs, lots and lots and lots of eggs, carrots. Try to keep it whole foods. On the occasion, I'll cheat because I love tortilla chips and salsa. It's like my go-to. Popcorn, those are my go-tos. Like those are my cheats for sure. But lots of whole foods, lots of grass-fed meats, a lot of no biotics, no antibiotic foods, and just trying to daily put in nourishing food. I also do coconut and oat milk yogurt with berries, because berries are super important. But I try to keep the sugar low. So that's a deep dive kind of into the day of the day with me. If you guys have more questions, please obviously reach out to me, Michael at thinkunbrokenpodcast.com. Hopefully this wasn't all over the place, but I just had to do like a brain dump after the conversation with Melanie to create some value around what I do in healing my body and in this journey. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you so much for listening. As usual, my friends, please like, subscribe, comment, share, tell a friend. And until next time, my friends, be unbroken. I'll see ya. Unbroken Nation, hope that you just got a tremendous amount of value from today's episode. I want to know what you think. Please do me a favor and review, rate, and share the episode with 3 friends on social media today. It would mean the world if you did, because ultimately at the end of the day, creating community and connection is how we heal generational trauma in the world. And I need your help to do that, Unbroken Nation. So if you're on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you are, please like, comment, share, review. I want to know not only what you like about the show, but how I can make the show better, how I can make this further about helping you on your healing journey. So do me a favor, and when you do, shoot me a screenshot of you making the review to my DM at Michael Unbroken on Instagram so that I can have a conversation with you, say hi, and more importantly, so I can share it with the Unbroken Nation. Thank you so much, my friend.